Okay, so what if the future of the internet, Web3, decentralization, all that stuff, wasn't really a news story at all? What if it's actually a problem that was diagnosed more than 2,000 years ago? I'm not talking about the technology, but the very human trap that this technology is trying to help us escape. We're going to explore the promise of a whole new internet, but through the lens of some surprisingly relevant ancient philosophy.
Right. So, what on earth does a riddle like this from the Tao Te Ching actually mean? Well, to put it simply, the moment you try to be authentic, you've already lost the very thing you're chasing. It's a deep warning about performing versus just being. And honestly, it is the perfect way to understand what's happened to all of us online.
So, this idea comes from chapter 38 of the Tao Te Ching. And what's so fascinating about it is that it isn't just a story, it's describing a process, it's a descent. It lays out the exact steps a society takes as it moves from something natural and genuine to something that's rigid, performative, and in the end, totally forced. And this slide maps out that whole cascade perfectly. You see, at the very top, you have the way. It's effortless, it's natural, but once that's lost, you fall to togetherness. You're still doing good things for others, but now it's a conscious choice. Lose that, and you drop down to righteousness. And now you need a public reason for doing good. It becomes a performance. And then you hit the very bottom, ultra rights. This is where all the genuine feeling is gone, and it's replaced by a system of forced compliance. You see the pattern, right? Each step is just a less authentic version of the one that came before it. So here's the key insight, the real kicker. Each step down this ladder is basically a consolation prize for losing the real thing from the step above it. As the authenticity disappears, the performance has to get louder and more visible. And this ancient cascade, well, it isn't just philosophy. It's a chillingly accurate map of how our social internet evolved. So let's make that connection really clear. I'm going to propose that the internet we have today, what we call Web 2, is a perfect modern example of the very bottom of this cascade. We are, right now, living in the age of digital alt-rights. So what exactly are alt-rights? Well, in the original text, it describes a world where genuine feeling has been completely replaced by mandatory public performances. You follow the rituals, not because you believe in them, but because the system demands it of you. It's a world built on compulsion, not genuine connection. Is this starting to sound a little familiar? Man, this line from the text is just incredible. It's so visceral, you can almost feel it. When the natural, authentic response is gone, the system doesn't stop and think. Nope, it just bears its arm and basically forces you to comply. It makes you perform the ritual whether you want to or not. And here is where the comparison just clicks into place. On the left, you've got the ancient altar rights. Compelled action, public performance, rules from some central authority you don't understand. And on the right, Web 2, algorithmic feeds that force you to perform for engagement, confusing content moderation, and centralized control through terms of service nobody reads. Both are systems that don't ask for your genuine engagement. They just fling you into compliance to serve their own goals. This is the core problem that Web3 and decentralized social media are actually trying to solve. It's not just about a technical upgrade. It's a philosophical attempt to reverse that whole cascade, to move away from the performative and get back towards something authentic. So that's the big question, isn't it? If we're all stuck at the bottom of this ancient ladder, is there even a way back up? Can we actually build systems that reward real connection instead of just forced performance? And this is where decentralized social, or DSOC for short, comes into the picture. At its core, it's all about building social networks on open, blockchain-based technology. The key difference here is that there's no single company in charge, no central authority dictating the rules of the ritual. You know, the core principles of Web3 social are basically a direct attack on those alter rights. When you own your data, you are no longer the product being sold. With censorship resistance, no central authority can just fling you into compliance. And with portability, your digital identity isn't trapped inside one company's digital prison. Every single one of these principles is designed to be a step back upstream towards authenticity. Now, this journey back upstream isn't just a theory. I mean, right now, there are teams actively building these new foundations, and two protocols in particular are really leading the charge. So, meet Farcaster and Lens Protocol. Think of them as the two main contenders. Both of them are trying to build the social layer for this new internet, but they are taking fundamentally different paths to try and climb out of that Web 2 hole. So let's break down their different philosophies, because this is really interesting. You can think of it this way. Farcaster is being really pragmatic. It keeps your core identity on the blockchain, but handles most of your data off-chain. Why? To make the experience feel fast and smooth, just like a Web 2 app. Lens, on the other hand, is more of a purist. It's trying to put everything on the blockchain for maximum decentralization. So the trade-off is basically user experience versus ideological purity. Farcaster wants to feel familiar so it can win over users, while Lens is building a more radical, fully decentralized foundation from the ground up. Okay, so we've got the ancient warning and we have the modern tech, but the path back upstream is incredibly steep. I mean, why? Because you have to convince millions and millions of people to leave the platforms where literally all their friends already are. That is the massive mountain that Web3 social has to climb. It's a challenge that investors are betting big money on solving. I mean, combined, these two projects have raised over $240 million. That is a huge vote of confidence that maybe we're all a little tired of the Web 2 alt-rights. But as we all know, money alone can't buy you a community.
And, well, this slide right here shows the elephant in the room, the sheer scale of the user gap. Farcaster and Lens, they have tens of thousands of daily users, which, hey, that's impressive for a brand new ecosystem. But then you compare that to X, which has 250 million. Overcoming that inertia, that is the central challenge.
And that huge gap exists because of these key hurdles. First, there's the cold start problem. You need users to get more users. It's a classic chicken and egg thing. Second, the user experience can still feel clunky compared to the super simple apps we're all used to. And finally, recreating those addictive algorithmic feeds without a giant centralized AI, that's a massive technical puzzle to solve. The journey upstream is definitely a tough one. So after all that, where does it leave us? Well, to find our answer, let's go back one last time to that 2,300-year-old warning from the Tao Te Ching. The text offers one final and kind of cryptic warning. It says all the hype, all the prediction about the future, that's just the flowering of the journey. It's beautiful, it's exciting, but it's not the final substance. It's not the fruit. It's the beginning of monkey-heartedness, a mind that just jumps from one shiny new thing to the next, never really landing on what's real and what's solid. And that brings us to our final question. After all the money, all the incredible innovation, and all the philosophical promise, is Web3 social the real solid fruit, a fundamental shift back upstream toward a more human internet? Or is it just a beautiful temporary flower, another cycle of hype that's eventually going to fade? The text suggests we should probably focus more on what's solid, not just what's flowering. And really, only time is going to tell us which one this is.